Today, I am breaking down the 2026 NFL Draft Edge Rusher class. Let's hop right into this. If you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys are watching on YouTube, this will be a top 20 list, but I have a top 33 list, so an extended version of this video over on the Patreon, so go support that. You get access to my big board, you get access to all the evaluations, not just the letter grades that you're going to see, but actual number grades. So it's a whole breakdown. It's my whole sheet. Feel free to go over there, $5 a month, and you guys get to end up being there. We have already a really strong community, and I appreciate you guys for that. But I want to give you guys some premium content over there, and so that's what I plan on doing. But let's get into this and understand, how do I grade? Because an 80 grade for somebody, because I do it out of 100, is going to be different for somebody else. Going to be different for somebody else. If you're going to spend this time watching this video, you should understand what I'm doing. So I break it up into tiers. 80 plus, those are edge ones. And I grade primarily for how they're playing right now. I blended a little bit of potential into there because I do think certain guys like Shemar Stewart, who are a little bit more raw but had a lot of potential, were misgraded in terms of where they were in the rankings. But regardless, I mean, he's probably a wrong example to use at the moment. But regardless, if you are an 80 plus, I believe you're an edge one. If you are in edge 2, I think you're between that 80 and 75 territory. So these are the every down starters, guys who should be getting reps every single down. Then you have that tier 3, which are the edge 3s, the edge 4s. Guys in a rotation will be getting reps pretty much game by game. So it's really good to have. These are very valuable players. So for me, Jack Sawyer was at the bottom end of this flex tier last year. So you're seeing that, second to fourth or second to early fourth territory. That's usually where these flex guys are. And then below that are developmental / non-NFL players. There are a couple of them on the Patreon video that will be having that. But I mean, again, that's going to be the way it is. Dream Fit, I used to say don't take it too seriously, more for fun than anything. That's technically true, but I still wanted to incorporate at least some elements of actual reality by switching it from just, oh, I'm going to toss 3 teams up there, to really trying to think, hey, if I were projecting what team this guy should go to, this is the one that I do it. But also, you just heard why or how the numbers make sense. Let's see how we get to those numbers. And I grade by pass rush, so whether you use length, it's essentially an efficiency category. It is not based off of pure number efficiency, but looking at actually how you play and how efficient you are. So it's a nice little blend of the two. Then you look at run defense. This is very anecdotal, but of course, if you have a lot of run stops, most likely you're doing a very good thing. I grade solely on all 22 tapes, so I'm using my own eyes to watch these players, and then I'm going to the statistics to kind of back up what I saw. Some guys, I do think that, maybe it was a lack of opportunity, but there are certain guys who are just really solid at stopping the run. There are certain guys who just do not know how to stop the run, but it is essentially those two categories. Very self-explanatory. Impact of the line of scrimmage. This is both in the run as well as a pass rusher. It's basically, are you able to either hold your ground or in pass rush, push the line of scrimmage, push the pocket. If you just go up to a tackle and then essentially just bounce off of them, you're not going to have a long career in the NFL. You got to be a really special type of edge rusher to not be able to make the pocket collapse and still be able to be a successful edge rusher. So I do think that's a very key thing, and especially for the run game. If you're just being moved around all over the place, you provide no pop to your hands, there is just going to be a lot smaller of a role for you, in my opinion, in the NFL. Then there's mechanics, and luckily this class has a lot of really good mechanics players, and you guys will see that through this video. More than most classes, there's just guys who know how to use the technique. They have a full toolkit. It's not someone who just bull rushes every play. They have a spin to their game. They have a nice rip. They have a nice swim move. They have a good club rip. There's just these moves that they have that are just nice to see. And the deployment sometimes is not necessarily there. So they might have a solid mechanics grade, like, hey, this guy knows how to make this move, but they're not timing it properly. So you'll see that the pass rush grade probably not as good because they're not efficient with it, which is something that I expect for them to grow as the season progresses. So then get off and bend. It's actually a balance of the two. For the first time ever, I've actually split up get off and bend and athleticism into their own categories, and this is just a combo grade. So get off, bend, those are their own. But for athleticism, I included speed, I included strength as well, and I kind of blended that with get off and bend and saw an overall athleticism score, which caps it because it's kind of tough for the speedy guys to really get high-end athletic scores because they're not always the strongest players on planet Earth. But I also think that the A's and stuff should be saved for the truly unbelievable athletes. And we don't really have that in this class, FYI. But then we got IQ grade as well. Do you know what's going on? I think that's super key, is just if a ball goes right in front of you and you're still looking in the wrong direction, you are useless, my guy. Hate to break it to you. You need to be able to know where the ball is to make a play on the ball. I think it's super duper important. And then frame, actually, this is the first time I'm including it in the grading scale, but I think it's actually super key. There's going to be a lot of guys who have a really solid build, but the biggest thing, and I keep this as a small percentage of the grade, but there are certain players that really do have a poor enough frame, like Suntarine Perkins, who we'll talk about in the Patreon video, but there are guys like that that really need to be hit for it. And there's also guys who are 270 who should be 250, and they get knocked down for that. So I think it's actually more, insightful than anything there. And then, of course, if you guys are watching on Patreon, you guys are going to get a full 33. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you're getting a full 20. Let's jump right into the video. Now we are going into number 20 overall with, here we go. We're starting off the YouTube video great. Adebawore. I know I got the last part right, but I pray to God I got the first one right. So welcome in my YouTube viewers. If you guys are on Patreon, you guys are already watching the past 13 guys. Feel free to go ask about who's going to be on that 13. I'll have it in the description in a randomized order so you guys kind of get a hint at the guys who are on Patreon. But regardless, let's jump right into this. I end up breaking down a game from my All-22 tape study for you guys. It's for me, but you guys like hearing it, and it paints the picture a lot better. And for those of y'all who wondered about the context, a C is average. So for Adebawore, he ends up having slightly under par for his pass rushing ability overall, but he is slightly above adequate for run defense. B's are like good, B pluses are great, A minus, A plus, phenomenal. So keep that in mind. But let's talk about his game versus South Carolina. It's his game of the year that he had the most reps. He's in a heavy rotation, but this is one of the games that he had the most, so you guys get the biggest picture. He has powerful hands on his first rep, pushing the left tackle into the quarterback. I ended up posting 2 clips of this guy over on X. Feel free to go and check out that link tree as well, because the link is in there. But his start to the game ended up tapering off really quickly, but it showed his potential. Just anchored well and then ended up shedding to make a tackle for loss. I need him to learn to combo off the bull rush and maintain his foot drive. So there's 2 factors to what I just said there. Combination. Ended up talking about this on the Patreon video already, but so skip ahead if you guys already watched that portion. But essentially, combination. You do a bull rush in someone's chest. That's wonderful. You have taken advantage, right? You start winning the rep. Then you need to do something else. Unless you are literally a god from the lower waist. Pause. But, think about Jared Verse. He can bull rush somebody into the quarterback. Not many guys have that ability. So you need to be able to get when the tackle's on the back of their heels, you need to be able to make your second move and get by them, get the pressure, get the sack. That's kind of the way you're supposed to do it. Adebawore needs to develop that. That's very tough. And shout out to Brandon Jackson, friend of the show on the Los Angeles Rams. When he first came on the show, he ended up talking about the fact that he kept going back and trying to really work on his timing and his angles. And timing is just super crucial. You need to know how to time these double moves, essentially. And there are players, if they don't get that many reps, you're not going to have that polish. But let's get back into it. But need him to learn that combo. And then, again, that foot drive as well. If you can break someone's initial anchor, keep pushing. It's very hard to reset your feet if you are continuing to be pushed back. So need to see that. And I said need to see those shedding moves more often. So it's something that I didn't see him do the way that he did on that second play. I was surprised to see it not at a more consistent rate. And I said the lack of consistency kills me. He balled the F out on the first few plays and has been pedestrian since. He flashes potential, but he needs consistency to be an NFL player. And remember, guys, I want all 33 of the guys who I graded to be the best of the best, right? We all want them to be edge ones. And this is not saying that for Adebawore, he's a bad edge rusher, right? I don't think that the player he is currently is super translatable to someone who should be getting reps early on in the NFL. And I think that's fair to say. He is a very good college edge rusher. He is better than a lot of guys who are edge ones on their respective teams. So just keep that in mind. I think that he's a really fun player. Unbelievable potential. Ridiculous frame. This dude is built to the 9. But there are things that concern me about his game that I think he needs to polish up quite a bit. Now let's talk about Arden Walker here out of Colorado. Ended up already talking about his other teammate, which off the top of my head, I don't know why the hell I just forgot his name, Keaten Wade. I already talked about him earlier in the Patreon video, so again, feel free to go follow that. But Arden Walker, let's talk about his game versus Kansas. By the way, the Kansas tackle's so good. So this is such a good game to see Arden Walker in for you guys to understand who he is. But starts out the game by doing a good enough job sealing the edge. He flashed a long arm to a swim. Remember, I'm talking about those combo moves. It's not just a bull rush to something. If you want to do a long arm, you get somebody on their heels, you get to set the engagement, and then you get to make the move that has the most success. Really like seeing that. I need to see more power with these versus the tight ends. I really didn't see him take that power dynamic and utilize it to his advantage. Attempted a cross chop, but he did not have the speed to get the outside shoulder. Great job grabbing a hand and then ripping. So, tackle goes to punch and you grab their hand and raise it. I love when edge rushers do that. I freaking love it. But elite level shedding. I don't know why he is not more productive. I ended up posting about this as well. He's one of the best block shedders in the class. Given his lack of brute strength, I would recommend him dropping to 245 to get more speed to use his technique as his strength rather than kind of being more balanced. He needs to handle reps better. When he ended up missing his initial punch, he ends up being swallowed. So something that I ended up talking about a little bit earlier as well is if you lose a rep, keep alive. Keep trying new things. Stay relentless. And for him, if he missed his punch, I always have, it just seemed like he kind of gave up. It's like he had something planned in his mind, and the backup plan wasn't necessarily there, which allowed him to kind of get swallowed up by Logan Brown, as well as Bryce Cable do. So, again, that's a super niche thing, but the NFL is very niche. That's just the problem. Again, I really love Arden Walker. He is a great edge rusher. I think Colorado, hot take, probably is the best edge core in the NFL or in the whole entire country. But that's a really hot take. But I still have to just put that out there. NFL-wise, there are these little things that you're going to have to get a little bit more better at if you're going to be getting legit reps, because you're competing with the Myles Garretts of the world, which again, creme de la creme. But if you want to be an edge one, it's a pretty high bar, which you got to set that for everybody. And you got to get excited when they end up meeting it. But regardless, surprisingly little push for someone with the look of with his look of his build. He's only 250, but he looks bigger. Maybe he should recomp his physique. It looks like he might not be extremely lean like some of his other teammates, which we'll talk about my favorite of the Colorado edge rushers a lot later in this video. I really, really, really like. I'm not even going to pronounce it because I need to see the name to pronounce it properly, but you guys will see Sam later in this list. Flashed a nice bull rush with heavy hands to the chest. Need to see him shed earlier versus the run. He can lose track of the ball. So that's something that I do, it's something that's super key for me. You need to know where the ball is. Otherwise, you're not going to be very valuable to an NFL team. If you get past a block and don't know where the ball is, first off, you need to position yourself in the right spot after you shed in the first place. So you kind of need to know where the ball is. Needs to learn to take the outside shoulder better because he keeps missing the angle. Remember, I talked about angle timing. And Arden has a huge potential. That's the thing. These are minute details that get shaved off and, sculpted as your career progresses. And I think Arden Walker is going to be a really, really, really big contributor. Friend of the show, BJ Green. He's not there anymore. He's in Jacksonville right now. Super excited. Shout out to BJ Green. Really good dude as well. But Arden, you have now more of an ability to take some more reps. I want to see that polish end up really coming to frame, and I want to see him recomp a little bit more to maybe get a little bit more juice to his game. But this is going to ruffle some feathers, and just like my running back video. The thing is, I owe y'all honesty, not comfortability. Just because someone's probably going to be taken high doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily say that they're worth that pick. That's just the way it is. And I got excited for Mikail Uiagalelei. I really like him. That's the thing. I think he's a really good college edge rusher. And you look at his grades, he's pretty much adequate for the NFL in everything except for processing. Impact the line of scrimmage, I think he can improve. But I also think that, he's somebody who should be improving his athleticism just a little bit more to get there. But let's talk about his game versus Penn State. Nice job getting around the outside shoulder. A bit late when reacting to an option play, not seeing very much leg drive. It seems pretty reserved and not overly explosive. Not seeing the impact that I like for a player of his size. Just ran full speed into the chest of a tackle and just didn't really move him that much and did not use his length very well either. I do like the fact that he has some good combos, has some very good hand fighting technique. He ended up biting on an RPO, playing a solid amount of contain as well. So, I mean, you're not going to see him, pinning his ear back. Bend overall is not very great. He bites way too often on fakes. Has rare polish for a 19-year-old, but the mental part is just still very far behind. And again, it's very rare to see someone at his stage of his career with the actual technique that he has. Like, it really is amazing. He's swatting hands. He has all these combination moves, and that's going to lead to the fact that he had a lot of production. But the efficiency needs to improve. The timing needs to improve. The understanding needs to improve. The athleticism, I think he should drop to 260, and I think he'll be fine at 260. It's okay. Drop to 260 and get even more athleticism, and he's going to be unstoppable. That's the thing. Mateo should be someone who should be a top 5 guy at the end of the year, but the current product that he is, just not there for me. At number 17, we have Trey Moore, another player who I have a lot of love for. A lot of love. So let's talk about his game versus Georgia in the championship game. He's not necessarily overly explosive, but he is fluid. That changed as the game went on. Not seeing any real strength. His arm length is a huge question mark. That's the big thing for me. His arm length does look a bit short. But he has really small push on the pocket, and I just said he's not beating Xavier Truss. I had an issue with that. I said at least he has some really good long arm reps, so even though he has short arms, he knows how to maximize it. Really good IQ. Finally deploying his shedding technique when pass rushing. Has some flashes, but it's surprising how he's not have more effectiveness. And that's the biggest thing. He has a really good block shedding technique. He has good timing. He knows what the hell's going on. I love that. I really do. But I just personally did not see Trey Moore with his build show any sort of impact on the pocket for it. I just didn't see him polish up the way I really wanted him to. With someone who has those tools, who has the understanding, who has the athleticism base as well. Even though I ended up saying it there, I ended up disagreeing with myself. But it's honestly surprising that he didn't apply or just be a lot more impactful. So that's a little bit of a bother for me right there. But Trey Moore is someone who I think, again, with that foundation, should be someone who rises up into my top 10. Kenyatta Jackson's awesome. He's at number 16. And you might be like, what? Kenyatta at 16? Well, first off, I don't know. Maybe people just think Kenyatta should be 16. I haven't seen him in like first round mocks. So there's a chance. But I really like Kenyatta Jackson. He's extremely raw. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. The guy's a physical freak. But let's talk about his game versus Oregon. Excellent, consistent leg drive off the bat. I ended up posting this rep as well. Ended up actually going off a little bit. So shout out to all y'all who have been supporting that tweet. But he ended up pushing Josh Connerly into the pocket, into the quarterback essentially. Insane push on the pocket overall. Builds up speed and has a great motor. So he's the one who tries really hard. Needs to land his hands better. He has some really long arms. Not seeing much beyond the bull rush though. Ended up trying to do an inside rip, so at least there's something, but didn't really have a lot of success. He needs the combo after his bull rush, so you're going to be hearing this with a lot of players. Impact is randomly dipping, which to me ended up looking like he was getting gassed. So I want to see him drop maybe the 260, get a little bit more in shape, because great motor, great power, just needs to be a little bit more consistent in terms of the actual applicable athleticism in each rep. I can't say effort because he really tries. Like, I really like that about him, but I do think that there definitely needs to be a little bit more. I said he's high ceiling, but he needs to get into shape. So that's the thing. He didn't play a ton of reps. So, and he's a big guy. I'm sure he was putting on weight. So I think that he's going to continue recomping his body. And again, another player who I have a lot of love for. James Williams is next. Nebraska transferred to Florida State. He's a freak, 6'6", 260, and he's a really good athlete too. This is a very intriguing player. If you look at how this is all broken down, you're like, how the hell can you not have a good impact? But he's kind of more of a wide 9 guy. Let's talk about it though. He has not a ton of experience, but it was his, we're going to talk about his game versus USC because it's his latest game with over 20 reps. But he has a solid bull rush, not seeing very much twitch, has some feistiness to him. So I like seeing the feistiness, really fluid for his size. So like really good movement skills. Active hands, but the length could be actually semi-questionable. Pretty quick processor, needs to transfer momentum better. That's the biggest thing. A good quick shed, but he missed a tackle for loss in open space. He just rushes too tall, which is another reason, in my opinion, why he could have poor impact on the line of scrimmage, like poor push on the pocket. If you stand too tall, think about that. Your legs are driving that way, right? It's on your lower half. So think about this right here. That looked like I was drawing something else. But like if you're rushing like this, like look, like your impact point versus where you're driving, look at the difference, the range between them. You're losing all that energy versus you leverage yourself. We're talking about these leverage angles. Remember Dallas Turner, you look at Will Anderson and like the way that they were able to get like pretty much parallel to the ground. That allows you to push into the tackle. That way the force that you're driving forward is driving through your body rather than, you guys get what I'm saying. You guys know what's up. But he rushes too tall. Great from wide 9. And I ended up actually giving him an Andre Carter comp. So I forgot to put that in there. But, I also don't want to have my number 15 guy given like pretty much a UDFA grade, but someone who actually like pre-2023, I think it was 2022 where he had a lot more success. That's the Andre Carter comp that I might give. Josh Josephs is next at number 14, edge rusher out of Tennessee. He's 240 pounds, so he's like, that's going to be kind of the big issue with him. But let's talk about his game versus Bama. Good job navigating for a tackle for loss. So he ended up kind of understanding where to go, ended up leading to a tackle for loss. For some reason, his feet feel a little bit heavy. Can build up straight line speed. Snap timing has been excellent. So this is something I love about Jahad Campbell as well. And I don't know, these 240-pound guys just they get me excited for the fact that they can actually jump the snap. But there's certain guys that they snap the ball and then a half second later they end up going, right? And that obviously puts you at a disadvantage because the tackle is able to get ready. Josh Josephs, with the athleticism he has, also times the snap extremely well, which is why I think he, versus certain tackles that aren't very good at mitigating that, he had a lot of success. But his snap time has been great. Awkwardly stiff mover, especially for his frame. Has been he absolutely got yeeted by a tight end. So in number 45, I know that I've studied the other tight ends, but not number 45. But got confused on where to line up. It happens. Certain players, I end up talking about this for another one of the guys, Suntarine Perkins. It happened a lot of times, like multiple times in games, and it's just like, that's where I start getting worried. But, with Josh Josephs knowing what the hell going on, I actually give him a little bit of slack for that. Has the speed to be lethal on the outside shoulder, but has yet to show the agility to utilize it on quarterbacks that do not continue to bail from the pocket. So quarterbacks that like to stand up and navigate a pocket, I think it's going to be pretty lethal against Joshua Josephs. I think he has great get off, but the bend is where that grade drops to a B. So I think wide 9 might be great for him. So maybe Cardinals could be not the best option. Maybe I could have tossed in the Niners, for example. But regardless, Robert Saleh loves that wide 9, and Josh Joseph could be crazy from wide 9. But getting back to it, does a nice job of releasing from blocks and making a tackle in the run game. So even though he's not the most physical force, he knows when to disengage and where to disengage to, which is, again, super duper crucial. Does a nice job of changing the angle when stonewalled. I talked about this earlier. Are you going to be a pain in the ass even when you lose? That's the way Joshua Josephs is. He actually gives himself chances to win even when he loses the first part of the rep. Good tackle for loss, nice jump cut, flashing a ton of IQ. Really should add 10 pounds to increase the impact, but he could end up being a legit starting potential guy. So starting potential being somebody who gains a couple points there, which if you boost your frame, boost your impact a little bit, probably going to be in that range. This is a fun one, man. Now, number 13, Elo Modozie. Like, what a beast, by the way. Army transfer to Georgia. I don't know what's up with Army. Kanye Udo, shout out to the running back video. You guys can go check that out. He ended up transferring to ASU from Army. He's a top 10 back for me in the class. I did not expect an Army edge rusher to be a top 15 guy for me, but he's transferring to Georgia. And it's like he's the most Georgia player I have ever seen in a non-Georgia uniform. It is such a good fit. So I'm unbelievably excited for y'all. But let's talk about his game versus Notre Dame. He has great push on his bull rush, which it didn't maintain too well. But to be fair, Notre Dame's offensive tackles are actually a lot better than what I gave him credit for initially. Flashed a good swim move, threw a tackle down. It was because he got on his toes, but good to see he has the strength. Definitely loves contact. These Army guys, they just love to hit. And I adore that about them. Like, shout out to the military. Flashed a rip move as well. Really good athlete. Needs to develop a long arm and bend around the hump because he is right now not doing a great job of that. So the bend part is a little bit concerning. Has an amazing foundation with the need for a program to utilize it. Georgia is one of the best spots he could have landed at. Just somebody who has a ton of potential there. Again, I don't think he's the strongest guy on planet Earth, but at the same time, when you think about it all together, Elo Modozie could end up being a superstar. Like, again, someone who I love a lot. Dennis-Sutton. His grade increased noticeably from the last time I graded him. So for those of y'all who don't like this at number 12, I understand. He has a cult following. He'll probably be a top first-round pick, but he's somebody who I like a lot. And I think that he needed another year, and he agreed. And right now, he could have went to the NFL and been adequate or good in everything. And I think you'll agree to that. He would not have been great in anything. That's okay. Apart from his size, the guy is a really solid build. But, I think Dennis-Sutton is somebody who could be on another level with more polish. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do this year. So again, another player who could end up being a number 3, number 2 edge rusher in the class for me. Just not there right now. Talk about his game versus Oregon. He has pretty damn light feet, can under pursue when in one-on-one. Not overly fluid given how light he is on his feet, which is surprising. Would like more length usage. Using no leverage angles at all, he seems to be rushing when straight up. He flashed a rip move for a pressure, but could not bend to make the sack. Really solid snap timing, does not use his legs nor power from his arms enough given his frame. Just looped around a pulling tackle and showed no bend again. So, again, that kind of sucks. Feel like he is a 245-pound defender trapped in a 265-pound frame. He has no desire to use his size as an asset. He almost had the edge when he finally used a long arm, so that outside shoulder, he almost had it. Flash a spin move, can get himself out of place due to him trying to win the block versus stop the play. So it's a big issue I've had with a lot of players in this class. Missed an open field tackle once again due to change of direction issues. Finally used a bull rush, and it did not look bad. He just did not maintain his foot drive, which he just looks uncomfortable doing it. Again, he's like a 245-pound edge rusher trapped in a big body. Can go on autopilot and do his assignment when it's not right for the play. So this is actually something I talk about for receivers as well. Like when they're just running the designated route that the coach told them to. Similar to corners, like if you're just sticking in your zone, when you end up realizing that the play is like not going towards what you're supposed to be doing, the best players know when to bail on what you're told to do. You think about it, like in corporate America, you love the people that you tell them what to do and they do it, right? But those guys have a very limited role because you just have to tell them what to do all the time. The best are the ones who you'll tell them what to do. They'll look at the situation as it's evolving and understand, oh, I actually need to do this instead. Something I wanted Dennis-Sutton to continue doing. But continuing. Huge potential. But the guy really needs to develop a lot more and get used to his body in order to be able to reach the potential he needs to be at. But this is going to piss off more people than even Dennis-Sutton is TJ Parker at number 11. God, this broke my soul because I saw some flashes of him where I said he could be blue chip. Bite me in the ass, apparently. But it's just, God, it's such, like, he has so much potential, man. So much. He doesn't play like 265 either. It's just really, he's a unique player who should be a first round pick. It's just there's parts of his game that really bother me. Talk about his game versus UT. Want better angle for leverage when engaging. So again, standing up a little bit too tall. Arm length may be a concern with how he got held at range by Banks. So Banks had solid arm length, but you can see the difference. It's like a couple inches. Late, but good job at shedding and then getting to the quarterback. Athleticism is not popping the way I saw when watching others play against Clemson's defense. Not being assertive enough after his first read step. So that's something like he just holds back even after doing a read step, which after watching a little bit more, I ended up realizing I don't think his processor's that good. and that's something that will continue to develop as time goes on. But I think that he kind of holds himself back because maybe he doesn't even trust it. But let's continue. Not using his length at all versus the run. I said, this early part of the game looks, in all caps, bad. Absolutely got manhandled versus the run. His anchor is solid when he wants to use it versus the run. If like offensive line are trying to push you, you just hold your ground. He has it when he wants to use it. Has some moves that come out during the latter portion of the game, so at least he showed some more potential there. Had a slow-ass jump cut. Not a fan of that. Really does not know where the ball is. Just does not look overly comfortable on a football field for half of his reps. Genuinely one of the lowest IQ defenders for the talent that I have studied. His edge bend is not necessarily there. A lot of these guys just do not have the ability to bend anymore. I think it's just a lost art, and something that breaks my heart a little bit. Flashes more get off with it without his read steps, of course. I mean, it makes sense. When you don't have a read step and you just pin your ears back, you're going to be more explosive. So it's good to see he has more juice in the tank, especially in the later portion of the game. Has potential, but really needs to work on being more of a mental player rather than just physical. And again, when you are so good, and I heard, shout out to Stock Exchange, they ended up talking about this with Lenore Sellers. When you are this talented, you build bad habits and you lean on athletic and just talent traits more than like the actual mental part of the game. So I think he's still developing it, and that's why I think there's going to be a good portion of his game that will improve as he continues to grow into his role. At number 10, I did not expect this. Princewell Umanmielen. So brother of Princely. Ended up transferring from Nebraska to Ole Miss. Let's talk about his game versus Illinois. By the way, the Illinois tackles are so fun. Like Priestley as well as Davis are both really solid players. Is the most reps he also had. So it's like 34 reps. So it's also good to give you guys that perspective. He ended up being bench pressed by Priestley, but he ended up building a ton of speed and ended up recovering. So he lost initially, ended up actually having a pretty solid rep overall. Uses a long arm well, has some good leg drive. He ended up blowing up Melvin Priestley with a bull rush. So I just wanted to see it get comboed, but it was good to see him get his little revenge right there. Really needs to use the long arm more because he's getting popped at range. So he ends up not using his length properly at some points where the tackle is going to get their hands on him, and he just, like, for some reason, he wasn't reaching out to engage. It felt like he was just trying to run by the guy like this, like, just run. They're going to touch you, bro. Like, I wanted to see that, and I know he has that in there. It's just, it kind of bothered me when I didn't see it on a consistent basis. I said, holy shit, this guy is insanely fast. And guys, remember, my athleticism grade, I might have to tweak it a little bit to give a little bit more leniency, but it's an average of bend, speed, strength, and get off. So it's just nearly impossible to get an A in this category. Compared to other positions where it's actually relatively easier, I must admit, athleticism is pretty tough to score well in. So I probably have to change that up a little bit, but I want you guys to listen for the athleticism portion to the actual analysis over just solely relying on that. But regardless, holy shit, this guy's insanely fast. Needs to focus on the ball over the block. Heard that one before, didn't you? He has some coverage reps as well. Part of me wonders if he would be a baller linebacker or safety. Just covered a tight end one-on-one. This dude should be a box safety, uses a blitzer from wide nine. He's so fun. He's really fun. Needs more strength on a down-by-down basis. And then also 48, because he was wearing 18. 48, it's not half bad either on Nebraska, forgetting who that is. But, like, Princewell is someone who I think is going to be a superstar if he just gets everything right. I think he can add 10 pounds, add a little bit more power to his game than even he has right now, and be an absolute beast like his brother was. But the thing about Princewell is that if he wants to drop 10 pounds and just be the best safety arguably in the country, I don't know. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. So a huge potential right there from Princewell. At number 9, we have R. Mason Thomas. I did not expect to like him this much, especially after the first portion of the Missouri game I watched, which we'll talk about. He ended up really showing a lot of potential, like a lot of talent. So somebody who I'm excited to talk about right here. But OU, man, they got some good edge rushers there. Let's talk about his game versus Missouri. He got annihilated on the first play by Armand Membu. Happens to the best of us. Went after the quarterback thinking he had the ball rather than the running back who was much farther away. So didn't know where the ball was. Has been near ineffective to start out the game. He flashed a good spin move, hit the running back long after the quarterback pulled. So it was a really bad start to the game, but he ended up really pulling it back. Has great straight line speed. Finally turned it on a bit and showed some good push. finally is showing off. I have no idea why he sucked early on, but I'm happy to see him flash athleticism and tools as the game progresses. This guy is now completely different than earlier in the game. He's really showing that he has a complete skill set, which it's just good to see. I mean, you're talking about proper shedding technique. You're talking about being applicable in terms of the good bend. I just think that, he doesn't really have a good enough run discipline because of the fact that he has a hard time processing what's going on. But the tools are there. Again, IQ is something I really hope to improve, but it's not necessarily the end-all be-all, especially if you use him as a DPR. Mikail Kamara, man. Shout out to this dude. First off, not just because I like his game, but also he ended up I ended up asking everybody, so shout out to y'all on Twitter, to say, like, hey, I've already watched these 15 guys. Who else should I watch? And someone asked, like, is he the brother of Mo Kamara, who is now on the Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken? I might have tripped up on that. No, the Dolphins drafted him. Yeah, I'm tripping. But Mikail ended up himself responding to that. Shout out to him, man. It happened literally this morning, so that's why I'm talking about it. But let's talk about his game versus Notre Dame. So I ended up saying I could have chosen, for this one, I could have chosen the zero pressure game versus Ohio State, but elected to choose a more recent, more translatable game. Because Notre Dame tackles, especially after watching him versus everyone, there's some good players there. Showing some solid lower strength on an outside zone, so good anchor, good push. Active hands, flashing some solid hand fighting. Moved versus the run for a huge touchdown run, so I think he could do a little bit better on a down-by-down basis there. He never gives up. He's extremely feisty. He flashed a good spin move. His run anchor needs to improve on a down-by-down basis. Has glimpses of high IQ, overtaken by not seeing where the ball is when right in front of him. So weird to see that fluctuate, but there are moments where he shows like he's cerebral, and then he has moments where it's like, what? So I think that will continue to improve as time goes on, especially. But has better bend than twitch or speed, a rarity in this class. Stop is a little bit tough for him. So, if you think about the change of direction, like just, being able to change your speed, it's a little bit tough. He's 265 at 6'1". It happens. But he has better athleticism than I gave him credit for off the bat. He needs to keep his legs churning. I said not sure as to why he isn't more productive, but there are moments where he deploys moves at the wrong time, so maybe that's why. Definitely could be an edge 2 or 1 if he can just polish the timing of his moves. Needs to bend a little bit more, gets around the hump, and doesn't dip low enough to get around the whole way. Super minute. But Mikail Kamara, I should have given him a +1 just because the dude's a fucking G. But, this dude is built to be a star in the NFL. Like, he has just a really good build. And I'm excited to see him be nearly an every down contributor. I think it's really, really good. Derrick Moore is next, Michigan edge rusher, pairing up there last year with, why am I forgetting the name off the top of my head? I was so focused on Mikail Kamara that I am forgetting about one of my favorite players last year, but number 0, I already know him. But regardless, Derrick Moore, edge rusher out of Michigan. Let's talk about his game versus Oregon. Course. I love talking about games versus Oregon. You guys get to see, Notre Dame, Oregon. Those are going to be the ones I primarily focus on for you guys to see, apples to apples comparison. But not afraid to get physical. Not popping as an athlete, which he ends up doing. But again, we're talking about versus Josiah Stewart. There we go. Like guys like Josiah Stewart, who might be a little better. Flashed a combo of a bull rush to a rip move, but would like better timing. Again, we're talking about little nitpicks here. Gets himself locked up versus the run when engaged one-on-one versus tackles. It happens. Good job as a pass rusher, changing angles. Feels more like a DPR with strength, which ended up being the case for him especially, which there is definitely a role in the NFL. It definitely feels like that should be the way it is. Change of direction seems pretty rough, but honestly, his bend's okay. Can have a difficult time finding the ball. Has good leg drive, good job jamming a pull blocker and making a tackle for loss. I want more bull rush combos because I saw it earlier. I'm like, more. I feel like Kylo Ren's like, more. And like, that's how I feel with Derrick Moore. Like, just to give me more bull rush combos, especially when you're just so powerful. Like, that shit, I eat that shit for breakfast. I love seeing like successful bull rushes. Evaded 2 blocks gracefully for a quarterback hit. So I ended up posting this one as well. Like dipped from the tight end block, dipped from Cornelius, and ended up making a QB hit. I just love it. I love when I see stuff like that. Clean swim move to take advantage of Johnny getting too toesy. Needs to learn to seal the edge better. 3 runs got outside of him. Overall has an incredible floor as a pass rusher with everything needed to make him a good run defender with better discipline. Derrick Moore could be the edge one in the class. It's just that part of his game. You just see there's 2 areas of improvement. A lot less than some of these other guys. But Derrick Moore, I really do think he could end up being like an edge one in the class if he wants to. David Bailey is next at number 6. And my first guy who I say is a true starter. Last year we were blessed. A lot of guys, and again, they also had a year of progression, right? Ended up being like 10 or 11 guys, I think, could start off the bat. These are the guys who I think should be getting every rep. David Bailey is awesome. Like, he is just really good. Like, really good. But let's talk about his game versus Notre Dame, of all things, which he actually transferred from Stanford to Texas Tech. So it's good to see him, go up against talent like Notre Dame. I'm grateful that the ACC ended up doing a little bit of work by adding Stanford in there so we could see that. But smooth spin sack. Starts out the game with that. Good job taking the outside corner. Good job staying home and stopping an option. One of the highest IQ guys in the class. Has really solid upper body strength with some punch from his hands. He's been used as a spy. He had a flash of great speed catching up to the running back, catching the ball behind him. So running back ended up, I believe, running a flat. He ended up getting through, tried to, swat the ball. Quarterback threw it, just underneath his arm. And he ended up catching up to the running back. I really love that. Really good movement skills. Looking past the blocker versus the run, ended up being held, though. He keeps his feet moving. Would not say he has crazy leg drive, but he's consistent. Huge fan, especially with his development. The thing with David Bailey is I've always been a fan of him, and I think this guy's absolutely phenomenal. I'm honestly quite surprised his grade is this low. But David Bailey overall is just someone I've seen grow from being someone I think would probably be a linebacker who's just really high IQ to just be someone who's such a well-rounded edge rusher. I think this guy could be a true edge 2, edge 1 in the NFL. I think he's an edge 2 right now, but I really do think he could develop into an edge 1 at a higher rate than some of these other guys, just because he is so well-balanced. This is where the popcorn gets, he's actually tied for 4, by the way. I'm going to spoil my number 4, which, if you guys scrolled on YouTube, you could probably see it anyways. But this is tied number 4. Samuel Okunlola. I definitely butchered that. By all means, feel free to put a pronunciation down below. Let's talk about the game versus Arizona, but with watching all the other edge rushers as well versus the other games, I got so exposed to Okunlola. It's crazy. I love this guy. This guy's an absolute monster. And again, keep in mind the athleticism. He should be in the A's. That's on me. I end up bouncing it out. It just didn't translate over in terms of the statistical grade. I actually end up having it not weighted, the grade, off of the athleticism score. I just do it as a composite for you guys to understand. I do it off of the individual categories. So his grade is representative of who he is. The graphic, I think, doesn't fully justify how damn good of an athlete he is. But let's talk about his game versus Arizona. He is off the bat, twitchy. Clean angle from wide 9 with a rip. This dude from wide 9 is literally probably the best edge rusher in the class. Not doing anything in terms of push on Jonah Savagnier, ended up improving as the game went on. Really needs to learn how to shed. Has nice speed on the outside shoulder, but would love to see more disengagement tactics. He got under the left tackle's chest and drove him back, so it's good to see he has that ability. He ended up doing it to the right tackle too. Ended up posting that on X. Needs to keep an eye out for where the ball is, so sometimes he ends up being a little bit absorbed into the block. Flashed a good spin move. Best defender so far in the class. Or best bender, excuse me. He could be the best defender. Best bender in the class. Leg drive's a bit iffy. He's been stonewalled a couple times if the initial pop cannot break the anchor. That's something I want to see improve a little bit. Lethal from wide 9. Nice bend for a second sack. And I ended up saying my boy Keegs, shout out to him. He's actually in Sweden. Did not lead me astray. Once again, this guy gives me all the inside tips on Colorado. He's a true fan. Just lifted a tackle off his feet, posted that as well. Consistently ran away from his side, Arizona did. So that's the thing. Arizona knew, let's not fuck with this guy. And I love that. You could tell that they stopped running to his side. Made a tackle from the backside play early on. I could see the vision for him being a true every down defender. This guy is going to get a ton of love. Getting no love at the moment. I'm going to put you on because Keegs put me on. I want him on my Steelers. That's how I roll. Number 4, technically tied 4 with Samuel, is Max Llewellyn. Please tell me if I mispronounced that. I watch all 22 tape of these guys. I'm not hearing the announcers pronounce these names, but I try my best. Max is awesome. By the way, his dad followed me over on Twitter. So shout out to Daddy Llewellyn. Love that guy. I mean, there's some guys, Jack Endry's dad did it as well. So shout out to Mr. Endry's. Mr. Llewellyn, shout out to you. I love when parents get involved. Domani Jackson's dad as well, I believe, ended up following. Miller Moss's mom. Like, when people's parents get involved on social media, I just love that. Like, it's good to see parents really rooting for their kids. So shout out to all of them. But let's talk about this game versus Missouri. Again, I try to keep it like Missouri, Notre Dame, Texas. Like, you guys know what I do. Oregon. Like, I want to give you guys as translatable of tape studies as possible so you guys get to hear apples to apples. He is twitchy off the bat. So twitchy is, I'm talking about get off, if you guys haven't picked up on that. Needs to learn the long arm because because all he's doing so far is running around the tackle. I think he ended up improving that. But starts out the game, I'm like, please, just use the long arm. I said LMAO, here we go. I spoiled it for myself. LMAO, once he used the long arm, it ended up working. So, like, it's good. I can tell that he's going to do well. Could have used a little bit more bend. So, I mean, again, he's 260. I'm kind of treating him like he's a 235 pounder when I'm talking about that. But we all keep a very strict, we got to keep a strict level of scrutiny versus everyone. Very active hands. Great press and swim for a run stuff. So stack, swim for run stuff. I will say he needs to work on extending his arms more. His arms do appear to be a little bit shorter. I think he'll probably be around that 33-inch mark, which is adequate. But again, Missouri, you had guys with like 34, 35-inch arms. So it happens. I say he's a swim move king. Excellent moves, just needs to refine his footwork. A lot of false steps. That is something I noticed. There are a lot of times where he's kind of stuttering his feet almost every time he's trying to engage. When the NFL has it where 4 seconds is an eternity, every step matters. So I think it's a super small nitpick, especially in college. It works a lot. Something that I think I want to see him improve a little bit. As it needs to learn that he doesn't have to always make a move. So sometimes I just really felt like he ended up getting a win and he would almost try to overcomplicate it. Super small nitpick. And I said unreal potential. I mean, I think this dude could easily be, again, an edge one. There's not many guys who grade out in the 75 range that I think have almost deserved. Like, to me, they deserve an 80 grade in my heart because I think they need to get there. But, I mean, these guys have real growth potential. Keldric Faulk is next, and Keldric Faulk's a really fun one. Really fun one. But let's talk about his game versus Missouri. Looks past the offensive lineman, has a nice cross chop for a shed. Flexible in terms of which side he runs from or rushes from, so it's good to see someone who's flexible. Want a little bit better hand placement. He has very good length, has some twitch to him. He is feisty, always moving and keeping his hands and feet active. Needs to watch pursuit angles. Barely got a tackle for loss, but saw the running back and used his length to get a hold of him. So actually, like, this is the play that ended up happening. He ended up under pursuing the running back, and luckily, because he has such long arms, was able to compensate and reach out and grab the running back for the tackle. Like, so he almost got himself out of position and lost the tackle for loss, even though he was in place for it. Looks surprisingly lean at 288, which is surprising to see him get down to 270. I'm like, were you not just 270 the whole time? But does not use length well when rushing from the interior. Good patience staying home, but close enough to assist. I like how he plays the run overall. Flashing a swim move, so good to see that. Has some legit speed to him, too. I said, what an athlete. Thing is, his endurance does dip a little bit. That's my only concern there. But would like a little bit more strength to his punches. Acts like more of a finesse rusher. I want to get a little bit more grit and power. Does an amazing job versus wide zone at shooting gaps. Just flew in a straight line, tracking down a pretty mobile quarterback as well. Drew Pine is not slow, so it's just like he's a good athlete. Needs to watch out for kamikazeing into offensive linemen on outside zones because he doesn't shoot the gap. Or when he doesn't shoot the gap, he ends up on the guard and opens up the boundary. Kamikazeing, I think I ended up talking about this in the Patreon part, not this, but I'll quickly describe it. You think about kamikaze pilot, they end up, just crashing, not really necessarily thinking in that regard. I end up translating that to this basically saying they just go and blow up the play. They go and don't actually think about what they're doing. And I love the idea of guys being able to just go like balls to the wall, but the game's very mental. So when you kind of forget the mentality part and you just go for it, I want to see a little bit more. But again, it's not a bad thing. I think he does a really good job. It's just there's certain reps where I'm like, come on. Flash the spin move, flashing good leg drive as well. Would love more comfortability with making combos as a pass rusher. He definitely is raw in that aspect. Could use slightly wider foot base when taking on double teams, so he's not pushed as much. But he ended up identifying a screen before it was thrown, so good to see that as well. And I ended up saying he low-key flashed in zone coverage. Is intriguing. I ended up actually like kind of understanding what's going on around him. Flashed a wider base on a run, ended up having a really good play there as well. So I'm like, well, there you go. So I said he has huge potential. Still needs to be more powerful. With his steps, his feet can kind of move in place rather than drive into the tackle. He's looking a bit tired, so that's something I did see. The endurance ended up dipping a little bit. I said he's tired, makes me happy he's dropping to 270. Got to give him credit, though. In nearly every rep, he's going 100%. So I understand even when he's gassed, he's trying his best. Huge potential, just needs to get a little bit more in shape, which it looks like he did this offseason, and then polish a little bit more. I mean, Keldric Faulk he's as advertised. He's going to be a star. I mean, he's a superstar in college right now. I think he could be a superstar in the NFL. LT Overton, again, man. Such a good decision to return to school because I think he would have been a second-round pick, and this gives him like a legit shot to be a top 10. But let's talk about his game versus Missouri. With like a little bit more length usage on the inside. What a nitpick. I'm talking about, hey, you're an edge rusher. I want you as a DI to do a little better. Pushed through the guard, but did not see the runner go by him. It's a little bit of an issue. He ended up playing a lot of DI this game, but it's good to see versus good talent because there's also a Missouri guard. That's some people are talking about as a first-round pick. No wonder he wasn't productive when they used him like a D tackle this game. Just pushed Membu into the pocket. Great job staying home and stuffing a cutback for a tackle for loss. Just pushed the center into the quarterback. Posted that one. Late shed, but did a good job of holding the ground and extending. Huge upside. I mean, this guy is going to be a star. That's the thing. I mean, 1 year from going from Texas A&M, he's going to a Bama program that was literally in its infant stages. Everyone struggled, and this guy's still a superstar. I think he's going to continue to grow in terms of the IQ, and yeah, he should be a blue chip player when all is said and done. Rueben Bain is last but not least. You might be like, is Rueben Bain on this? Abso-freaking-lutely, baby. I mean, this guy is so good. And he was banged up last year. So, I mean, the athleticism, get off and bend are a little bit hampered by the fact that he was a little bit banged up last year. But this guy's nearly unstoppable. I mean, he is ridiculously good. But let's talk about his game versus Louisville. It was his best game, but let's understand why. Ended up having a good hand chop through the offensive lineman and ended up popping with great arm strength. So, has really good arm strength, throws the tackle. Like, he's just built. Like, very strong. Needs to use his legs more. Good job shooting a weak shoulder and ended up jumping the gap. So ended up seeing like, oh, tackle is kind of like weak here. Ends up taking advantage of that. That's super minute. It's very, very, very niche to be able to do that in college. Very small group of guys who could do that. But flash leg drive, but definitely looks a bit slower with the steps than a high-end athlete. Ended up comboing that rep with a nice swim. But ultimately, I mean, again, he's coming off an injury. He's 275. Probably not going to be at 100%. Scrappy with rare strength. That's the biggest thing for him. That's like, if I'm going to say a quick way to describe him, he's scrappy with rare strength. Definitely looks a bit hefty, which again, coming off that injury, I think he definitely can be a little bit off his game. IQ is definitely a little bit of an issue, so doesn't really understand where everything's going on. And he can pick up speed, so he's a straight line athlete. But Rueben Bain Jr., I mean, he has that rarity to him that you can't find with really anyone else. And I love that. He's polished, he's strong, and he knows what he's doing. Like, he's just effective from all parts of the field. And when healthy, when in an NFL locker room, getting in NFL shape, this guy could be in the top 3 in the NFL. Like, it's just that level of potential. The Rueben Bain could be an absolute superstar. He could be on that Jared Verse level of potential. So super excited for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, showing the love you always do. I'll see you later. Peace.